What makes someone washed up? Is it the wrinkles? The gray hair? The way they move slower than they used to? Or is it something else entirely? Steven Seagal sits in the empty dance studio, 57 years old, back straight as a blade, eyes closed, breathing measured. The mirrors stretch from floor to ceiling. Infinite reflections of a man who once commanded respect on stages across 3 continents. But that was before the reviews turned cruel, before the industry forgot his name, before they whispered, has been washed up, past his prime. The wooden floor creaks under his weight. Same sound it's made for 30 years. Same studio where he learned to move like water, like wind, like something ancient and untamed. Aurora Coleman pushes through the glass doors. 17. All sharp angles and nervous energy. She clutches a crumpled acceptance letter. Riverside Academy of Performing Arts. Advanced Contemporary Dance. Full scholarship. Steven opens his eyes, sees her reflection in the mirror, sees the fear she's trying to hide. Master Seagal? He turns. Slow. Deliberate. The way he does everything now. You're early. I know. I needed to. She stops. Swallows. Looks at the floor. They said you were the best teacher here. Steven stands. Joints protesting. But his movement still carries that fluid grace, that dangerous elegance. They said a lot of things. Aurora shifts her weight. Dancer's habit. Always moving. Always ready. My friends think I'm crazy for wanting to learn from you. Why? Because you're… She catches herself. Realizes what she almost said. Color rises in her cheeks. Because I'm what? The question hangs between them. Sharp as a blade. Heavy as judgment. Because they said you were washed up. Steven nods. No anger. No surprise. Just acknowledgement. And what do you think? Aurora looks around the studio. At the worn floors. The faded posters. The trophy case in the corner covered in dust. I think I want to learn. Steven walks to the sound system. Vintage equipment. Buttons worn smooth by decades of use. Contemporary dance isn't about being young. Music begins. Slow. Haunting. Something that sounds like memory. It's about truth. He moves. And for a moment, just a moment, the years fall away. His body remembers. Every gesture precise. Every transition flowing like poetry made flesh. Aurora watches. Mesmerized. This isn't the washed up has been her friends described. This is something else. Truth doesn't age, Steven says. Still moving. Still perfect. It just gets deeper. But even as he speaks, footsteps echo in the hallway. Voices. Laughter. Getting closer. The studio door opens. Wyatt Carrington enters. 23. Competition winner. Regional champion. Behind him, Violet Drake. Grayson Sawyer. Sadie West. The Academy's rising stars. They see Steven. See Aurora. The music stops. Oh, Wyatt says. Voice dripping with mock surprise. Didn't know anyone was using the old studio. Aurora asks. That's what we call it. Violet explains. Sweet smile. Sharp eyes. Where the old teachers go to retire. Steven says nothing, but his jaw tightens. Almost imperceptible. You must be the scholarship girl, Grayson adds. Word travels fast around here. Aurora Coleman, she says, trying to sound confident. Failing. Well, Aurora Coleman. Wyatt steps forward. Let me give you some advice. He gestures towards Steven. Casual. Dismissive. If you want to actually learn something, you might want to find a teacher who's still relevant. The word hits like a slap. Aurora feels it. Steven feels it. But Steven's expression doesn't change. Doesn't give them the satisfaction. Class starts Monday, he says quietly. 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Sadie laughs. Who takes class at 8 a.m.? People who are serious, Steven replies. The group exchanges glances. Smirks. They have what they came for. See you around, Aurora, Wyatt says. When you're ready for real training, they leave. Laughter trailing behind them. Aurora stands frozen. Torn between opportunity and acceptance. Between truth and belonging. What would you do? Steven starts the music again. Slower this time. Sadder. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought on stage, they're fought in rooms like this. When no one's watching. When the world has written you off. Aurora looks at her reflection. Sees herself standing next to a man the world calls finished. Will you teach me? Will you learn? She nods. Once. Firm. Then we begin tomorrow. The music swells. Fills the empty space. Covers the sound of distant laughter. Steven watches Aurora gather her things. Sees the doubt creeping back in. The way she glances toward the door where Wyatt and his crew disappeared, they'll make it difficult, he says that I. Note they'll say things. Cruel things. About me. About you for staying. Aurora stops. Turns. Looks at him with those young eyes that haven't learned to compromise yet. Why do you keep teaching? The question surprises him. No one has asked that. Not in years. Because someone needs to remember. Remember what? Stephen moves to the window. Afternoon light slants through dirty glass. Outside, students cross the courtyard. Laughing. Carefree. Unaware of the battles fought in studios like this. What dance really is. What is it? Not performance. Not competition. Not even art. He turns back to her. Something fierce in his eyes now. Something that wasn't there before. It's survival. Every movement tells a story. Every gesture holds memory. Every step carries the weight of everyone who came before. Aurora feels it. The gravity of his words. The weight of legacy. The kids today, Stephen continues. They think dance is about being seen. About winning. About being better than someone else. But it's not. It's about being true. To yourself. To the movement. To the story you're telling. He moves again. Slow. Intentional. Like he's demonstrating. Something invisible. When I was your age, I thought I knew everything. Thought technique was enough. Thought talent was enough. It wasn't. Talent fades. Technique can be learned. But truth. He stops. Looks directly at her. Truth is eternal. Aurora absorbs this. Feels something shifting inside her. Some understanding she can't quite name. Will you teach me truth? I'll try. She heads for the door. Pauses. Master Seagal? Yes. I don't care what they say about you. The words hang in the air. Simple. Powerful. Unexpected. Stephen nods. No words needed. After she leaves, he stands alone in the empty studio. The mirrors reflect him from every angle. An aging man in a young person's world. But in the corner, barely visible, sits an old leather case. Scratched. Worn. Forgotten. Inside, a medal. Gold. Tarnished with age, and engraved on the back. World Champion Contemporary Dance 1987. Steven Seagal next to it. A photograph. Faded. Edges curled. A younger Stephen. Arms raised in victory. Crowd on their feet. Applause frozen in time. The case stays closed. For now, some secrets are worth keeping. Until the right moment to reveal them. Until someone needs to see that washed up doesn't mean finished. Sometimes it just means waiting for the right student. The right moment. The right battle. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. New voices saying he's done. New reasons to quit. But tonight, Steven Seagal closes his eyes and remembers what it felt like to be champion. Not of a competition, but of truth itself. The studio grows dark. The mirrors fade to black. But the memory remains sharp, clear, unbroken, ready to be passed on. Monday morning, 7:55 a.m. The academy halls echo with emptiness. Most students won't arrive for hours. But Aurora Coleman walks through the corridors like she owns them. Bag slung over her shoulder. Hair pulled back. Ready? She passes the main studio. Floor-to-ceiling windows. State-of-the-art sound system. Mirrors so clean they gleam. That's where Wyatt Carrington teaches. Where the chosen ones train. Where careers are made. Aurora keeps walking. Down the narrow hallway. Past the storage rooms. Past the janitor's closet. To the forgotten studio at the end of the hall. Steven Seagal is already there. Stretching. Moving through positions with the fluid grace of water finding its level. You came. I said I would. People say many things. Aurora sets down her bag. Begins her warm-up routine. Basic stretches. Nothing fancy, but clean. Precise. Stephen watches. Sees potential. Raw. Unformed. But real. Tell me about your training. Community center classes. 3 years. Miss Patterson was my teacher. She moved away. Said I had potential. Said I needed real training. So you came here. My parents couldn't afford it. But the scholarship. She trails off. Doesn't finish the sentence. Doesn't need to. Charity cases. That's what they call scholarship students. Behind their backs. Sometimes to their faces. Show me what you know. Aurora moves to the center. Takes position. Breathes. The music begins. Something classical. Something safe. She dances. Technically correct. Emotionally distant. Like she's performing for a judge instead of telling a story. Stephen watches. Sees the problem immediately. The same problem he sees in most young dancers. There. Afraid. Afraid to be wrong. Afraid to be vulnerable. Afraid to be real. Stop. Aurora freezes. Mid-movement. Panic in her eyes. What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. That's the problem. She looks confused. Hurt. Like she's failed some test. She didn't know she was taking. I don't understand that you're dancing like you're in a competition. Like you're being judged. Like you're trying to prove something. Aren't I? Steven moves to the sound system. Changes the music. Something different. Something darker. Something that sounds like rain. Dance like no one's watching. Like you're alone in your room. Like you're telling a secret. What secret? The one you're afraid to tell. Aurora hesitates. Looks at the mirrors. Sees her reflection. Sees doubt. I don't have any secrets. Everyone has secrets. The music builds. Crescendos. Demands response. What are you afraid of? I'm not afraid. Then why are you holding back? I'm not. You are. Steven's voice cuts through her protest. Not harsh, but firm. Unwavering. Every movement is calculated. Every gesture is safe. You're dancing to not lose instead of dancing to win. Aurora stops. Stands. Perfectly still. Breathing hard. You don't understand. What don't I understand? This is my only chance. The words come out broken. Desperate. Like she's been holding them back for months. Why parents work 2 jobs each. They're sacrificing everything for me to be here. I can't mess this up. I can't be wrong. I can't fail. Steven nods. Understands. He's seen this before. The weight of expectation. The pressure to be perfect. The fear that one mistake will destroy everything. What happens if you fail? I don't know. Then you're already failing. The words hit like a physical blow. Aurora steps back. Wounded? That's not fair. Fair doesn't exist. Steven walks to the window. Looks out at the courtyard. Students beginning to arrive. The chosen ones. The privileged ones. The ones who've never had to choose between dreams and survival. You want to know what fair is? Fair is Wyatt Carrington getting private lessons since he was 5. Fair is Violet Drake having a mother who was a principal dancer. Fair is Grayson Sawyer never worrying about scholarship money. He turns back to Aurora. Something fierce in his eyes. Fair is you thinking you have to be perfect to deserve to be here. Don't I? No, you have to be brave. The music continues. Insistent. Demanding. Try again. I can't. Why? Because what if I'm not good enough? What if you are? The question hangs between them. Dangerous. Promising. Terrifying. Aurora closes her eyes. Breathes deep. Tries to find something she's kept buried. When she opens them, Steven sees it. A flicker. A spark. Something real. What are you afraid of? Being forgotten. Why? Because I'm nobody. From nowhere. With nothing. And they're all somebody. From somewhere. With everything. Steven nods. Recognizes the truth. The weight. The injustice. Then show them what nobody can do. Aurora takes position. Different this time. Looser. More dangerous. The music shifts. Becomes something else. Something that sounds like defiance. She begins to move. Not perfect. Not safe. But honest. For the first time since she arrived, Aurora Coleman stops trying to be what she thinks they want and starts being who she is. Raw. Hungry. Desperate. Beautiful. Steven watches. Sees the transformation. The moment when technique becomes truth. But outside in the hallway, footsteps approach. Voices. Laughter. Getting closer. The door opens. Wyatt Carrington enters. Followed by his crew. Violet Drake. Grayson Sawyer. Sadie West. Hunter Finley. They see Aurora. Mid-movement. Vulnerable. Exposed. The music stops. Silence fills the studio. Well, Wyatt says. Voice dripping with amusement. Look what we have here. Aurora freezes. Caught between shame and defiance. Between hiding and fighting. Don't stop on our account, Violet adds. Sweet smile. Sharp teeth. We're just here to watch the master at work. She emphasizes the word master. Like it's a joke. Like it's something ridiculous. Steven says nothing. But his jaw tightens. His fists clench. Almost imperceptible. Actually, Grayson steps forward. We heard there was some kind of amateur hour happening. Thought we'd come see for ourselves. They spread out. Surround the space. Make themselves comfortable. Claim territory. Please. Sadie gestures to Aurora. Continued. We're dying to see what a scholarship student can do. The word scholarship hangs in the air. Poisonous. Meant to wound. Aurora looks at Steven. Sees something in his eyes. Something that says, this is the moment. This is the test. This is what we've been preparing for. What would you do? Run. Hide. Disappear? Or stand your ground and show them what nobody can become? The choice hangs in the balance. Everything depends on what happens next. Aurora Coleman stands frozen. Center stage. Spotlight of judgment. 5 pairs of eyes dissecting her every breath. Go ahead, Wyatt says. Voice honey sweet. Intentions razor sharp. We're waiting. The studio feels smaller now. Claustrophobic. The mirrors multiply their faces. Infinite reflections of mockery. Steven steps forward. Barely perceptible, but Aurora feels it. His presence. His protection. Class is in session. He says quietly, "Oh, we know," Violet laughs. "That's why we're here to learn from the master." The word drips with sarcasm. Lands like acid. Burns. "Show us what you've got." Scholarship girl, Grayson adds. "We heard. You're supposed to be talented." Aurora's hands shake. Muscles tense. Fight or flight. Every instinct screaming, "Run." But Steven's voice cuts through the noise. "Calm. Steady. Trust yourself." Aurora closes her eyes. Breathes deep. Finds that spark again. That flame she discovered moments before they arrived. Nobody from nowhere with nothing. She opens her eyes. Looks directly at Wyatt. Sees surprise flicker across his face. He wasn't expecting defiance. "You want to see what I've got? By all means." Aurora nods to Steven. He starts the music. Same song. Different energy. Dangerous energy. She begins to move. Not the careful, calculated movements from before. This is raw. Hungry. Desperate. Beautiful in its honesty. Every gesture tells a story. Poverty. Sacrifice. Dreams bigger than circumstances. The privileged kids watch. Expecting amateur hour. Getting something else entirely. Aurora spins. Leaps. Lands with grace that can't be bought. Can't be taught. Can only be earned. Not bad, Sadie whispers. For a community center kid, but there's something else in her voice. Something that wasn't there before. Uncertainty. Aurora builds to the climax. Every movement precise. Every transition earned. This isn't technique. This is survival. She finishes. Chest heaving. Sweat glistening. Utterly exposed. Silence. Then Hunter Finley starts clapping. Slow. Deliberate. Mocking. "Bravo," he says. "Very passionate." Passionate, Violet agrees. "That's one word for it." I was thinking more. Desperate, Grayson adds. The word hits like a slap. Aurora's face burns. Shame flooding through her. "There's nothing wrong with desperation," Steven says. Voice cutting through their laughter. "It's honest." "Honest?" Wyatt turns to him. "Is that what you call it?" "I call it real." "Real doesn't win competitions," Violet says. "Technique wins competitions. Training wins competitions. Money wins competitions." They don't say the last part. Don't have to. Everyone knows that. When's the last time you won anything? Grayson asks Steven. When's the last time anyone even cared about your opinion? The question hangs in the air. Brutal. Designed to wound. That Steven's face doesn't change. But Aurora sees it. The flicker of pain. The moment of doubt. "That I'm not here to win competitions, right?" Wyatt laughs. "You're here to teach charity cases in storage. Closets. This isn't a storage closet. Might as well be." Aurora feels the walls closing in. Sees Steven under attack. Sees herself as the weapon they're using against him. "Maybe I should go," she says quietly. No, Steven's voice. Firm. Unwavering. "You belong here, DOI." The question comes out smaller than intended. Wounded. Vulnerable. "Look around," Sadie gestures. "This is the forgotten studio. Where forgotten teachers teach forgotten students. You want to be forgotten? Stay here. You want to matter? Come with us." Aurora looks at Steven. Sees him waiting. Not pushing. Not demanding. Just waiting. What's it going to be? Wyatt asks. Charity case forever? Or something more? They move toward the door. Confident. Certain she'll follow. We have real training starting in 10 minutes. Violet calls back. Main studio. With director McAllister. Aurora's breath catches. Easton McAllister. Head of the academy. Former New York ballet principal. Living legend. He's looking for new talent, Hunter adds. For the spring showcase. Could be your big break. If you're good enough. They reach the door. Turn back. Wait. Aurora. Stands between worlds. Safety and dreams. Acceptance and truth. The easy path and the right path. What would you do? Steven watches her. Sees the war in her eyes. The battle between what she wants and what she needs. Aurora, he says quietly. Real talent doesn't need permission. It doesn't need approval. It just needs truth. But even as he speaks, footsteps echo in the hallway. Different footsteps. Heavier. More purposeful. Isaac Ramsey appears in the doorway. 62 years old. Custodian. Invisible to most. But not to Stephen. Their eyes meet. Brief. Meaningful. Isaac nods. Once. Slight. Then he's gone. Continuing his rounds. Mopping floors. Emptying trash. Watching everything. Saying nothing. But Aurora catches it. The exchange. The recognition. The respect. Who was that? She asks. Someone who knows, Stephen says. Someone who remembers. Remembers what? But Stephen doesn't answer. Can't answer. Not yet. The choice is yours, he says instead. Aurora looks at the doorway. At Wyatt and his crew. At the promise of acceptance. Of belonging. Of being chosen. Then she looks at Stephen. At the mirrors. At the truth reflecting back. If I stay, she says. What happens? I don't know. If I go, I don't know that either. But I know. This. Easy choices don't make great dancers. Great dancers make hard choices. Aurora nods. Understands. Feels the weight of decision. I'll stay, you sure? Wyatt calls from the hallway. Last chance. I'm sure. They disappear. Laughter echoing. Footsteps fading. Aurora stands alone with Stephen. In the forgotten studio. With the forgotten teacher. Making the forgotten choice. Now what? She asks. Now we work. But first, Stephen moves to the corner. There's something you should know about why they're so afraid. Afraid? Of what you might become. Of what you might remember. Out of what you might prove. That he stops at the old leather case. Hand hovering over the latch. Decades of secrets waiting to be revealed. Some things, he says, are worth fighting for. Some truths, he continues, are worth the cost. And some students, he looks at her, are worth the risk. The case stays closed. For now. But Aurora feels it. The weight of something important. Something that changes everything. What's in there? The reason, Stephen says. They're wrong. About me being washed up. About you being nobody. About truth not matching. But you're not. Ready. Not yet. When will I be ready? When you stop asking. When you stop doubting. When you start believing. I in what? In yourself. I in the truth. I in the possibility that nobody from nowhere can become somebody. Can become everything. Aurora nods. Feels something shifting. Something hardening. Something being born. Then let's begin. Let's begin. The music starts again. Different now. Stronger. Like a declaration of war. Outside the studio, the academy continues. Classes. Competitions. Politics. Privilege. But inside, something else begins. Something dangerous. Something that threatens the natural order. Something that says, washed up doesn't mean finished. Sometimes it means ready. 3 weeks pass. Aurora arrives early. Leaves late. Muscles aching. Heart full that she's learning things. They don't teach in the main studios. How to find truth in movement. How to dance with scars. How to make pain beautiful. But the academy isn't kind to those who choose differently. Look who's coming, Violet Drake whispers. Loud enough for Aurora to hear. Quiet enough to deny. Aurora walks past their table in the cafeteria. Chin up. Eyes forward. Pretending not to notice the sudden silence. The stares. The smirks. Scholarship girl thinks she's special, Grayson says. Training with the has-been. Maybe she likes lost causes, Sadie adds. Birds of a feather. Aurora sits alone. Sandwich untouched. Watching them through the glass. The chosen ones. The untouchables. The future stars. Her phone buzzes. Text from her mother. How's school, honey? Dad and I are so proud. Aurora stares at the screen. Types. Everything's great. Deletes it. Types. It's hard but worth it. Deletes that too. Types. Love you. Sends it. Some truths are too heavy to share. After lunch, she walks to the forgotten studio. Finds it empty. Stephen gone. Note on the mirror. Emergency faculty meeting. Practice your truth. Back tomorrow. Aurora nods. Understands. Starts the music, but she's not alone for long. Well. Wyatt Carrington. Voice like silk. Intentions like steel. He enters with purpose. Closes the door behind him. Leans against it. Casual. Threatening. Where's your teacher? Faculty meeting. He pushes off the door. Moves closer. Predator energy. You know, he says. I've been thinking about you. Aurora keeps dancing. Ignores him. Focuses on the movement. That's not very polite. I'm practicing. Practice can wait. He reaches for the music. Turns it off. Silence fills the space. I said I'm practicing. And I said it can wait. Aurora stops. Turns to face him. Sees something dangerous in his eyes. What do you want? To help you. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. Wyatt circles her. Slow. Deliberate. Like she's prey. Especially people like you. People like me? Poor people. Desperate people. People who don't belong. Each word hits like a blow. Calculated. Precise. Designed to wound. That I belong here, do? He stops circling. Faces her directly. That you're failing. You know. What? Your classes. All of them. Except this one. Aurora's heart stops. Failing? Impossible. She's been working so hard that I don't believe you. Check your grades. Check your standing. Check. How many complaints have been filed about your attitude? What complaints? Antisocial behavior. Refusing to integrate. Thinking you're better than your peers. I never. You chose the has-been over Director McAllister. That sent a message. What message? That you don't respect the academy. That you don't respect authority. That you think you know better. Aurora feels the walls closing in. Feels the trap tightening. Realizes this was planned. Orchestrated. Designed. At your lying. Am I? Wyatt pulls out his phone. Shows her the screen. Grade report. Official Academy letterhead. Aurora Coleman. Contemporary dance. C ballet fundamentals. D+ dance history. F academic standing. Probation. The words blur. Swimming. Impossible. This can't be right. That it's very right. That I've been working so hard. Working hard. At the wrong things. With the wrong people. Stephen isn't wrong. Stephen is finished. Everyone knows it. Everyone except you. Aurora stumbles backward. Hits the wall. Slides down. Everything crumbling. My scholarship. In jeopardy. My parents. Will be disappointed. My future. Depends on what you do next. Wyatt kneels beside her. Voice softer now. Almost gentle. Almost kind. I can help you. How? Transfer to my classes. Director. McAllister's program. Real training. Professional preparation. Your grades will improve. Your standing will be restored. Your future will be secure. Aurora looks up at him. Sees salvation. Sees compromise. Sees the easy way out. What about Stephen? What about him? He's my teacher. He's nobody's teacher. Not anymore. He's being removed. What? Faculty meeting. Right now. They're discussing his situation. What situation? Declining. Enrollment. Student complaints. Irrelevance. That he'll be gone by next week. The words hit like physical blows. Aurora doubles over. Gasps for air. You're lying. Ask him yourself. When he gets back. If he gets back. See what he says. See if he can look you in the eye and tell you he has a future here. Wyatt stands. Looks down at her. Broken. Defeated. Exactly where he wanted her. The offer stands, he says. Until tomorrow. After that. He shrugs. Walks to the door. Pauses. You know, he says. I actually respect you. For what? For believing in something. Even if it was wrong. Even if it was pointless. Even if it was doomed from the start. He leaves. Aurora sits alone on the floor of the forgotten studio. The mirrors reflect her misery from every angle. Infinite images of failure. She thinks about her parents. Working double shifts. Sacrificing everything. For this. For her. For a dream that's turning into a nightmare. She thinks about Stephen. The way he moves. The way he teaches. The way he believes. In impossible things. She thinks about the leather case. The secrets it holds. The truth he promised when she was ready. Am I ready now? She stands. Walks to the corner. Stares at the case. Hand hovering over the latch. What would you do? Open it. Learn the truth? Face whatever's inside? Or walk away? Take Wyatt's offer? Choose the safe path. Footsteps in the hallway. Getting closer. Stephen returning from the meeting that might have ended everything. Aurora steps back. Waits. Watches. The door opens. Stephen enters. Sees her face. Knows immediately. They got to you. Is it true? About your grades? Probably. About the complaints? Probably. About you being removed? Stephen pauses. Looks at the mirrors. At the reflection of truth. Probably. Aurora's world collapses. Everything she believed. Everything she trusted. Everything she fought for. Gone. So what now? She whispers. Now you choose. Between what? Between what's easy and what's right. Between what's safe and what's true. Between who they want you to be and who you are. Stephen moves to the leather case. This time, his hand doesn't hesitate. You asked when you'd be ready. I think ready isn't about time. It's about choice. It's about being willing to see the truth. Even when it costs everything. Even when it changes everything. Even when it demands everything. He opens the case. Aurora gasps. Not just at what's inside, but at what it means. What it changes. What it proves. Now you know, Stephen says. Why they're so afraid. Why they work so hard to make us disappear. Why they can't let us be who we really are. Aurora stares. Speechless. Everything shifting. Everything reframing. Everything making sense. So, Stephen says. What's it going to be? Them or us? Easy or true? Safe or right? The choice hangs in the balance. Everything depends on what happens next. But for the first time since Wyatt's visit, Aurora Coleman doesn't feel broken. She feels angry. And anger, as Stephen taught her, can be fueled if you know how to use it. Aurora stares into the open case. Gold catches the light. Tarnished, but unmistakable. A medal. Heavy. Significant. Real. World champion contemporary dance 1987 Steven Seagal beneath it. Photographs. Newspaper clippings. Reviews. Programs. All telling the same story. The story Wyatt and his crew never knew. Never suspected. Never imagined. You were world champion. Stephen nods. No pride in his voice. No boasting. Just fact. Heavy as stone, Aurora lifts a photograph. Stephen, 30 years younger. Arms raised in victory. Crowd on their feet. Spotlights blazing, Lincoln Center. The biggest stage in the world that I don't understand. What don't you understand? If you were champion, if you were the best, why are you here? Why aren't you famous? Why doesn't anyone know? Stephen closes the case. Gently, like he's putting away something sacred. Something painful, because I made a choice. What choice? To tell the truth. Aurora sits on the floor. Looks up at him. Waits for the story she knows will change everything. 1987. I was 25, top of the world, endorsement deals, performance contracts, everything you could want. He moves to the window. Looks out at the courtyard. At the students who don't know what they don't know. The dance world was different then. More honest. Or so I thought. What happened? Politics. Money. Corruption. Stephen turns back to her. Something dark in his eyes. Something that still hurts. There was a competition, national championship. Winner got to represent the country at the World Games. Career-making opportunity, but I was favored to win. Did you? I should have. But the judges had other plans, other allegiances, other bank accounts. Aurora feels something cold settle in her stomach. Understanding dawning. They fixed it. They fixed it. The winner was predetermined. Son of a major donor. Connected family. Right. Background. Right money. Wrong talent. What did you do? What I had to do. I spoke up. I told the truth. I exposed the corruption. Stephen laughs. Bitter. Hollow. I thought people would care. I thought truth mattered. I thought talent would win. Did it? What do you think? Aurora looks around the studio. At the worn floors. The outdated equipment. The forgotten corner of a forgotten world. They destroyed you. They tried. Blacklisted. Banned from major competitions. Sponsors pulled out. Performance contracts. Cancelled. Career over. At 25. But you kept dancing. I kept teaching. Why? Because someone has to remember. Someone has to tell the truth. Someone has to show what real dance looks like. What real talent is. What real worth means. Aurora absorbs this. Feels the weight of it. The injustice. The loss. The sacrifice. I ask that. Why they hate you. Wyatt and the others. Do they know? Some do. The ones who matter. The ones who run things. They remember what I represent. What do you represent? Dangered to the system. The way things they are. The comfortable lies they tell themselves. Stephen sits beside her. On the floor. Eye level. Human. You see, they can tolerate talent. They can work around skill, but they can't abide truth. Truth threatens everything. Their positions, their power, their ability to choose who rises and who falls. They make sure people like me stay forgotten. People like you stay struggling. People like us stay quiet. Aurora feels anger building. Hot. Pure. Righteous. It's not fair. No, it's not. But what are we going to do about it? The question hangs between them. Challenge. Invitation. Declaration of war. What can we do? We can show them. Show them what? That washed up doesn't mean finished. That forgotten doesn't mean gone. That buried doesn't mean dead. Stephen stands. Extends his hand. Aurora takes it. Feels strength there. Purpose. Resolution. There's a showcase coming. Spring performance. All the elite students will perform. For all the important people. Judges, scouts, directors, donors. The people who decide who has value. Who matters. Who gets remembered. Aurora nods. Understands where this is going. You want me to audition. I want you to enter. Without auditioning. How? There's a category, open division, for teachers to showcase their methodology, their students, their approach that you'd be representing me.my teaching.my legacy. Aurora feels fear creep in, ice in her veins. Reality setting in, against Wyatt, against Violet, against all of them, against the system, against the corruption, against the lie that money matters more than truth that I can't. Why? Because I'm nobody, from nowhere, with nothing, because you're exactly what they fear most. What do they fear? Someone with nothing to lose. Someone who dances for truth instead of approval. Someone who proves that talent doesn't need pedigree, that genius doesn't require permission. That revolution can start in a forgotten studio with a forgotten teacher. And a scholarship student who refuses to stay quiet. Aurora looks at the case, at the medal, at the proof that excellence can be buried but never destroyed. What if I fail? What if you don't? What if I embarrass myself? What if you embarrass them? What if I'm not ready? What if ready isn't the point? What if courage is the point? What if truth is the point? What if proving that they can silence us, but they can't stop us is the point? Aurora feels something shifting, something hardening, something being born, not confidence, something deeper, something more dangerous, determination. When is the showcase? 6 weeks. What do I need to do? Everything. Train like your life depends on it. Because it does. Dance like you're fighting a war. Because you are. Prepare to show them what nobody from nowhere can become. What's that? Everything they're not. Honest, true, uncompromising, unafraid. Stephen moves to the sound system. Selects a song. Something powerful. Something that sounds like revolution. We start now. Today. This moment. We start the fight for truth, for justice, for the right to be excellent without permission, for the right to matter without money, for the right to be remembered for the right reasons. The music begins. Aurora takes position. But this time, it's different. This time, she's not dancing to prove herself, she's dancing to prove something bigger, that excellence exists beyond privilege, that truth transcends status, that sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to continue it. Even when everyone says it's impossible, even when everyone says you're not good enough, even when everyone says it's over, sometimes being washed up just means you're ready to rise again. But first, Stephen keeps the most important secret, the one that will change everything, the one that explains why they're really afraid, the one that proves this isn't just about dance, that it's about power. And who gets to keep it? Not yet, he tells himself. Not until she's ready for the whole truth. Not until she's ready to understand what we're really fighting. Not until she's ready to win. Outside the studio, Isaac Ramsey continues his rounds, mopping floors, emptying trash, watching, waiting, protecting secrets that could change everything. If the right person asks the right questions at the right time, soon, very soon, the real battle begins. 6 weeks pass like lightning. Aurora trains, like she's possessed. Every morning, every evening, every spare moment, her body changes. Stronger, more fluid, more dangerous. Her mind changes too. Sharper, focused, unafraid. The academy buzzes with anticipation. Spring Showcase, the event of the year, where careers are born, where futures are decided, where the chosen ones prove they were chosen correctly. Director Easton McAllister walks the halls like a king. Silver hair, expensive suit, authority radiating. From every step, behind him, board members, donors, talent scouts, the people who decide who matters. This year's showcase, he announces to the assembled faculty, will be our finest yet, the most promising students, the most innovative choreography, the most professional presentation that we will show the world what excellence looks like. Stephen sits in the back, silent, unnoticed, invisible, but not forgotten. Never forgotten. After the meeting, McAllister approaches him. Smile cold as winter. Stephen, director, I hear you've entered the open division. I have. Interesting choice. For someone in your position, the words carry weight. Threat. Warning. What position is that? Transitional. Meaning? Meaning this showcase will be your last at this academy. Stephen nods. Expected this. Prepared for it. I understand. Do you understand that your student will be performing in front of the most important people in contemporary dance? People who remember your history. People who don't appreciate disruption. I understand perfectly. Good. McAllister leans closer, voice dropping to a whisper. Because if your student embarrasses this institution, if she makes us look foolish, if she draws unwanted attention to old controversies, there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that follow students wherever they go, the kind that end careers before they begin, the kind that make sure certain names are never spoken in professional circles. That Stephen's jaw tightens. But his voice stays calm. Aurora Coleman is an exceptional dancer. She won't embarrass anyone. For her sake, McAllister says, I hope you're right. That he walks away, leaving Stephen with the weight of what he started, the threat of what could be lost. That evening, Aurora finds Stephen in the studio, staring at the case, at the medal, at the price of truth. Having second thoughts? She asks, always, want to back out? Do you? Aurora thinks about it. About the safe path. About Wyatt's offer. About the easy way out. Don't know why. Because they expect me to. Because they want me to. Because they've already decided I don't belong. Because they think nobody from nowhere should stay nowhere. And I'm tired of being nobody. Stephen nods. Understands. Recognizes the fire he felt. At 25, then we finish this. Tomorrow. Showcase day arrives like Judgment Day. The main theater transformed. Professional lighting. Professional sound. Professional everything. The audience files in. Donors in designer suits. Critics with notebooks. Scouts with contracts. Parents with cameras. Aurora watches from backstage. Sees Wyatt preparing. Perfect costume. Perfect hair. Perfect confidence. Violet stretching. Grayson warming up. Sadie reviewing choreography. Hunter adjusting his tie. All of them ready. All of them polished. All of them certain this is their night. Nervous? Wyatt asks, appearing beside Aurora. Should I be? Probably. This isn't the forgotten studio. These aren't sympathetic teachers. These are professionals. People who know talent when they see it. People who know the difference between real and pretend. Aurora feels the familiar stab of doubt, of fear, of inadequacy, but then she remembers. The medal, the truth, the reason she's here. You're right, she says. They will know the difference. Between real and pretend. Between earned and given. Between truth and performance. Wyatt's smile falters. Just for a moment. But Aurora sees it. Good luck, he says. You'll need it. The lights dim. Show begins. One by one, the elite students perform. Technical perfection. Flawless execution. Empty souls. Each routine identical in its pursuit of approval. Safe. Predictable. Forgettable. The audience applauds. Polite. Measured. Uninspired. Then Wyatt takes the stage. His piece, Ascending. Perfect title for perfect ambition. He dances. Every movement calculated. Every gesture rehearsed. Every breath choreographed. It's impressive. Professional. Soulless. The audience applauds. Louder now. More enthusiastic. This is what they expect. What they understand. What they can control. Wyatt bows. Soaks in the approval. Glances toward the wings where Aurora waits. Beat that, his eyes say. Director McAllister takes the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, our final performance comes from our open division. A student and teacher collaboration representing alternative approaches to contemporary dance. The phrase drips with condescension. Alternative approaches. Code 4. Not real. Not serious. Not worthy. Please welcome Aurora Coleman and her instructor, Stephen Seagal. Scattered applause. Uncertain. Curious. Skeptical. Aurora walks onto the stage. Simple costume. No sequins. No glitter. Just black. Just truth. The lights focus. Bright. Harsh. Exposing. She sees the audience. Hundreds of faces. Judging. Evaluating. Dismissing. I in the front row. McAllister. Board members. Donors. I in the back. Isaac Ramsey. The custodian. The witness. The keeper of secrets. Their eyes meet. He nods. Once. Slight. Significant. The music begins. Not what anyone expects. Not contemporary. Not classical. Something else. Something raw. Something that sounds like revolution. Aurora begins to move, and everything changes. This isn't technique. This isn't training. This isn't performance. This is truth made visible. Pain made beautiful. Struggle made sacred. She dances poverty. Desperation. The weight of other people's dreams. The fear of not being enough. She dances rejection. Isolation. The sound of doors closing. The sight of opportunities given to others. She dances anger. Righteous. Pure. The fury of being told you don't belong by people who never earned their place. The audience leans forward, drawn in, mesmerized. This isn't what they came to see. This is what they need to see. Aurora builds to the climax. Every movement earned, every gesture honest, every breath a declaration. I am here. I belong. I matter. You cannot erase me. You cannot silence me. You cannot make me disappear. She finishes, chest heaving, sweat glistening, absolutely exposed, completely vulnerable, utterly magnificent, silence, complete, total, deafening. Aurora stands alone in the spotlight, waiting, wondering, fearing the worst. Then, one person claps. Slow, deliberate, alone, Isaac Ramsey, the custodian, standing, applauding, refusing to be silent. Another person joins. Then another. Then the entire back section. The wave moves forward, row by row, building, growing, unstoppable, standing ovation, thunderous, genuine, unprecedented. Aurora looks for Stephen, sees him in the wings, tears in his eyes, pride on his face, victory in his stance. But in the front row, McAllister sits frozen, face rigid, hands still, refusing to acknowledge what just happened, refusing to admit that somebody from nowhere just became somebody, refusing to accept that washed up doesn't mean finished, refusing to recognize that truth will always be more powerful than politics. Aurora bows, deep, grateful, transformed. She's no longer the scholarship girl, the charity case, the nobody from nowhere. Does she something else now? Something dangerous, something that threatens the natural order, something that proves excellence doesn't need permission. The applause continues. But Aurora knows this is just the beginning. The real battle starts now, when the lights go down, when the audience goes home, when the powerful people decide what to do about the truth they just witnessed. What would you do? Celebrate the victory or prepare for war? Because sometimes winning the battle means losing the war. Sometimes being right means being destroyed. The applause dies. The lights come up. Reality returns. Aurora stands backstage, still shaking, still processing, still unable to believe what just happened. You did it, Stephen says, voice thick with emotion. 30 years of vindication in 3 words. That we did it. No, that was you. That was truth. That was everything they said was impossible. But even as they celebrate, shadows gather. Whispers spread. Plans form. Director McAllister moves through the crowd. Damage control. Reputation management. Crisis intervention. Quite a performance, he says to the board members. Very emotional. Emotional but unpolished. Raw but unprofessional. Passionate but unfocused. The code words flow. Designed to diminish. To explain away. To minimize impact. Of course, we must remember this was an exhibition, not a competition. Not a real evaluation of professional capability. Just an exploration of alternative methods. But the damage is done. The truth has been seen. The possibility has been proven. And in the back of the theater, people are talking. Different people. Important people. People who recognize authenticity when they see it. Who is she? Asks Mila Shaw, regional talent scout. 20 years experience. I for the exceptional. Aurora Coleman, her assistant replies. Checking the program. Scholarship student. Instructor. Steven Seagal. Seagal, the name triggers memory. Recognition. Something half remembered. Something significant. Isn't he the one who, the whistleblower, from the 80s, the corruption scandal, that was never proven? Or was it? Mila makes a note. Mental bookmark. Something to investigate. Someone to remember. But not everyone is impressed. Backstage, Wyatt Carrington seethes. Face red. Hands clenched. Ego shattered. This is bullshit. Complete bullshit. Violet nods agreement. Grayson fumes silently. Sadie scrolls her phone. Already checking social media. Already seeing the clips. Already watching their moment being overshadowed. That she's nobody, Violet says. Scholarship trash. Why are people acting like she's special? Because she fooled them, Wyatt spits. With that sob story bullshit, that poverty porn, that manipulation, real dancers don't need pity points. Real dancers let talent speak, and she has no talent. But even as he says it, Wyatt knows it's not true. Saw what everyone saw. Felt what everyone felt. Recognized what everyone recognized. Authenticity. Power. Truth. Everything he's been taught doesn't matter. Everything he's been told isn't real. Everything he's been promised would never win. We have to do something, Sadie says. Before this gets out of hand, before people start thinking she actually matters. Like what? Remind everyone who really belongs. Here, remind everyone what real standards are. Remind everyone why the system exists. They turn as one. Predators sensing weakness. Bullies sensing opportunity. Cowards sensing threat. Aurora emerges from the wings. Still glowing. Still flying. Still believing in impossible things. Well, Wyatt says. Voice dripping poison. The star of the show, Aurora stops. Sees their faces. Understands immediately. Victory has a price. Truth has consequences. Excellence has enemies. Quite a performance. Violet adds. Very. Emotional. Thanks that we especially love the part where you pretended to be a real dancer. The words hit like slaps. Designed to wound. To diminish. To destroy. I am a real dancer. Are you? Grayson steps forward. Real dancers train for years to AT real institutions. With real teachers. Not charity cases learning from has-beens in storage closets. Steven isn't a has-been that isn't. Sadie laughs. When's the last time he performed professionally? When's the last time he choreographed anything that mattered? When's the last time anyone cared what he had to say? Aurora feels the familiar stab of doubt. Of inadequacy. Of not belonging. But something else rises too. Something stronger. Something forged in 6 weeks of truth that he cares about dance, about students, about teaching truth instead of technique. Truth? Wyatt laughs. What truth? That you can buy your way on a stage with a sob story. That you can manipulate people with poverty. Porn? That you can fool judges with emotional manipulation? I didn't manipulate anyone. No. Then why did you dance about being poor? Why did you make it about your background? Why didn't you just dance? The question hangs like a trap, waiting to spring, because that's who I am. Exactly. A charity case. Playing the victim. Using your circumstances as a crutch. Real dancers transcend their backgrounds. They don't exploit them. Aurora feels the ground shifting beneath her. Everything she thought was strength being twisted into weakness. You don't understand. We understand perfectly. You got lucky tonight. The audience fell for your act, but we know better that we know what real dance is. And that wasn't it. Violet steps closer. You want to know what that was? Therapy. Self-indulgence. Masturbation. Everything dance isn't supposed to be. Dance is art. Not autobiography. Technique. Not trauma. Excellence. Not excuses. Each word hits like a physical blow. Aurora staggers. Confidence cracking. Faith wavering. But don't worry, Sadie adds. We won't tell anyone what we really think. We'll let you have your moment. Your 15 minutes. Your little victory. Because tomorrow, when the professionals start talking, when the real evaluations begin, when the dust settles, everyone will remember what really matters. Standards. Training. Legitimacy. Everything you don't have, they move to leave. Victory declared. Damage inflicted. Truth distorted, but a voice stops them. Quiet. Calm. Dangerous. Is that what you think? Steven Seagal emerges from the shadows. Where he's been listening. Watching. Waiting. That technique matters more than truth. That training matters more than authenticity. That legitimacy can be bought instead of earned. Wyatt turns. Sees the old man. The has-been. The failure that we think, he says. That some people should know their place. And what place is that? In the past. Where they belong. Where they can't hurt anyone anymore. Where they can't spread dangerous ideas. About what dance should be, Steven nods. Understands. This isn't about Aurora. This isn't about dance. This is about power. Control. The right to decide who matters. You're right, he says. Some people should know their place. He walks to the center of the backstage area. All eyes on him. All attention focused. But maybe, he continues. It's time everyone knew what that place really is. He reaches into his jacket. Pulls out the leather case. Opens it. The metal catches the light. Gold. Unmistakable. Undeniable. World champion. Contemporary dance. 1987. Steven Seagal. Silence. Complete. Shocked. Transformative. Wyatt stares. Violet gasps. Grayson staggers. Sadie drops her phone. Everything they thought. Everything they believed. Everything they were told. Wrong. You see, Steven says. I do know my place. At the top. Where I earned it. Where they couldn't keep me. Where they tried to bury me, but failed. And Aurora? He looks at her. Sees her straightening. Strengthening. Understanding. Aurora knows her place too. Right here. Right now. proving that excellence doesn't need permission, that truth doesn't need approval, that champions can come from anywhere. Be anyone. Become everything. The metal gleams. Proof. Vindication. Revolution. Now, Stephen says. Who wants to talk about legitimacy? The silence stretches. Infinite. Heavy. Changing everything. Isaac Ramsey appears from the shadows. Slow clap. Building. Echoing. About time, he says. About damn time. And in that moment, Aurora Coleman realizes something profound. Being washed up doesn't mean finished. Sometimes it means waiting for the right moment to rise again. Sometimes it means letting them think you're beaten until you're ready to show them they were wrong, dead wrong. The metal changes. Everything and nothing. Word spreads through the academy like wildfire. Steven Seagal, world champion. Hidden in plain sight. Some students apologize. Awkward. Embarrassed. Late. Others pretend they always knew. Always suspected. Always believed. Most just. Stare. Reevaluating. Recalculating. Rewriting history. But the power structure? The system? The machine that decides who rises and who falls? That doesn't change. Can't change. Won't change. Director McAllister calls an emergency meeting. Monday morning. 8 a.m. Stephen's office. If you can call it that. More like a closet. With a desk. And regrets. Congratulations, McAllister says. Not sitting. Not settling. Not staying. Long. On the revelation. Thank you. I'm sure you understand this complicates things. How so? Your student's performance has generated attention, social media buzz, industry curiosity, unwanted scrutiny. Stephen nods. Expected this. Prepared for it. Unwanted by whom? By people who matter, people who fund this institution, people who determine its reputation, people who don't appreciate surprises, even good surprises, especially good surprises. McAllister finally sits, leans forward. Business mode. Here's what's going to happen. Your contract ends at the semester. As planned. Aurora Coleman scholarship is under review. Her academic performance remains problematic. What academic performance? The grades that have been carefully documented, the complaints that have been properly filed, the behavior issues that have been thoroughly recorded. Stephen feels ice in his veins. Understanding. You manufactured them. We documented them. You created false records. We created accurate records of observed behavior. Antisocial tendencies. Refusal to integrate. Disruptive influence. All subjective evaluations from concerned faculty. All following proper procedures. All legally defensible. You can't do this. We already have. McAllister stands. Straightens his tie. Prepares to leave. Your medal is impressive. Your past is noteworthy. Your talent was significant. But this is business. This is the real world. This is how things work. Some truths are too expensive to acknowledge. Some revelations create too many complications. Some victories cost more than they're worth. What about Aurora? What about her? She's exceptional, but she's a scholarship student with failing grades and behavioral problems. End of story. She deserves better. She deserves what she can afford. Nothing more. Nothing less. McAllister reaches the door. Pauses. You fought this fight before. 30 years ago. How did that work out? He leaves. Stephen sits alone. In his closet office. With his medal. And his memories. The victory feels hollow now. Pyrrhic. Costly. He won the battle. Lost the war. Again. That afternoon, Aurora finds him in the studio. Packing. Slowly. Sadly. Is it true? What? That you're leaving? That my scholarship's gone? That it's over? Stephen stops packing. Looks at her. Sees the hope still burning. Still fighting. Still believing. Yes, the word hits like a blow. Aurora staggers. Sits hard on the floor. But we won. Did we? The applause. The recognition. The medal. All meaningless? Not meaningless. Just insufficient. Aurora absorbs this. Feels the weight of systematic injustice. Of institutional power. Of predetermined outcomes. Oh, what happens now? Now you continue. Where? Somewhere else. With someone else. Without you. Without me. But why? Because this place was never about dance. It was about control. About keeping certain people in certain places. About making sure the right stories get told. And we told the wrong story. Aurora feels tears coming. Hot. Angry. Frustrated that it's not fair. No, it's not. But fairness isn't guaranteed. Justice isn't automatic. Truth doesn't always win. Sometimes the best you can do is plant seeds. What kind of seeds? The kind that prove excellence exists everywhere. That talent doesn't need permission. That one moment of truth can change everything. Even if it doesn't change anything. Aurora looks around the studio. Their studio. The place where she learned to be herself. Will you keep teaching? Somewhere. Somehow. Will you keep dancing? Will you? She thinks about it. Really thinks. Despite everything. Despite the injustice. Despite the defeat. Yes. Why? Because now I know. Know what? What I'm capable of. What I really am. What they can't take away. Stephen nods. Proud. Satisfied. Vindicated. Then we didn't lose. Feels like we lost. Feels aren't facts. What are the facts? Fact. You performed at professional level. Fact. You earned recognition. From real critics. Fact. You proved that excellence doesn't need pedigree. Fact. You changed minds. Fact. You opened doors. Fact. You showed them what they fear most. What's that? That they're not special. That privilege isn't talent. That money can't buy what you have. What do I have? Truth. Authenticity. The ability to make people feel something real, and that scares them. Because if people start valuing truth over training, authenticity over approval, substance over status, the whole system collapses. Aurora understands. Finally, completely.so this was never about me. It was always about you. About the threat you represent. About the change you might inspire. About the revolution you might start. Revolution? One person. At a time. One performance at a time. One moment of truth at a time. They sit in silence. Teacher and student. Champion and protege. Past and future. What will you remember? Stephen asks. Everything. What will you forget? Nothing. What will you do? Dance. Where? Everywhere. For whom? For anyone who needs to see the truth. For anyone who's been told they don't belong. For anyone who believes that excellence is their birthright. Good. Stephen returns to packing. But slower now. Less sad. More purposeful. Because sometimes the best teachers aren't the ones who stayed, they're the ones who give their students what they need to continue without them. Outside the studio, Isaac Ramsey mops the hallway. Listening. Watching. Protecting. Soon, he will have stories to tell. Secrets to share. Truths to preserve. Because some victories aren't measured in applause. They're measured in courage. In conviction. In the willingness to stand up when it costs everything. In the refusal to be erased. To be silenced. To be forgotten. Steven Seagal packs his medal back in its case. Not hiding it this time. Just protecting it. For the next student. The next battle. The next moment when truth needs a champion. And Aurora Coleman watches him pack. Already planning her next performance. Her next stage. Her next chance to prove that washed up doesn't mean finished. That nobody from nowhere can become somebody. That. Sometimes the revolution starts in a forgotten studio with a forgotten teacher and a scholarship student who refuses to stay quiet. The academy continues. Classes resume. Order is restored, but something has changed. Something subtle. Something dangerous. The possibility that the system might be wrong. And possibility, once planted, grows in the dark, spreads in whispers, builds in silence, until one day, it becomes unstoppable. 5 years later. Aurora Coleman stands in her own studio. Sunlight streaming through windows. Students stretching on worn floors. The same energy. Different place. Coleman Contemporary. The sign outside reads. Simple. Honest. True. 15 students. All scholarship kids. All told they don't belong. All proving them wrong. One movement at a time. Remember, Aurora tells them. Dance isn't about being perfect, that it's about being honest, that it's about telling your truth in a way that makes others feel their own. The students nod. Understand. They've heard this before. But it bears repeating. Truth bears repeating. In the corner. A glass display case. Simple. Clean. Respectful. Inside, a medal. Gold. Tarnished with age. Still beautiful. World champion contemporary dance 1987 Steven Seagal below it. A photograph. Aurora and Stephen. Last day at the academy. Arms around each other. Smiles despite everything. Hope despite defeat. And a plaque. In memory of Steven Seagal. Teacher, champion, truth teller who proved that excellence needs no permission. 1962-2023 Aurora touches the glass. Gentle. Reverent. Missing him. Stephen lived to see the studio's opening. The first scholarship student. The first standing ovation. The first time someone said, "This is what dance should be." He died peacefully. In his sleep, medal on his nightstand, smile on his face. Legacy secure. Miss Coleman, Mila Shaw. 17. All sharp angles and hunger. Everything Aurora used to be. Yes, I'm scared out of what? The audition tomorrow. For Riverside Academy. Aurora nods. Understands. The wheel keeps turning. The cycle continues. New dreams. New battles. New chances. Tell me, why you want to go? For the training, the opportunities, the connections. All good reasons, but not the right reason. Mila looks confused. Hurt. Like she's failed some test. What's the right reason? To prove something. To yourself, not to them. What should I prove? That excellence exists everywhere. That talent doesn't need pedigree. That truth is more powerful than politics. Aurora walks to the display case. Looks at Steven's medal. At his photograph. At the proof that champions can be forgotten but never erased. You know what they'll tell you? That you don't belong. That you're not good enough. That you should be grateful for whatever scraps they throw you. What should I do? Prove them wrong. How? By being yourself. By dancing your truth. By refusing to disappear. By remembering that sometimes the best revenge is excellence. Mila nods. Feels something shifting. Something hardening. Something being born. The same thing Aurora felt 5 years ago. Will you teach me? I already am. I mean really teach me. Everything. The way he taught you. Aurora smiles. Sees the hunger. The desperation. The beautiful, dangerous willingness to fight. Class starts tomorrow, after your audition. Win or lose, but especially if you lose. Why? Because that's when you'll need the truth most. When everything seems impossible. When everyone says you're finished. When they write you off as washed up. That's when you discover what you're really made of. The door chimes. New student entering. Isaac Ramsey. 70 years old now. Retired from custodial work. Volunteering as studio manager. Ladies, he says. Time for advanced class. The older students file in. 18 to 25. From Aurora's first years. Teaching. The younger ones. Passing it forward. Keeping it alive. Among them, Hunter Finley. Former Academy elite. Now teaching truth instead of technique. Never thought I'd see you here, Aurora told him when he first arrived. 3 years ago. Broken. Desperate. Cast out. Neither did I, he replied. But I got tired of being fake. Tired of pretending money mattered. More than meaning. Tired of dancing for approval instead of truth. He's one of her best teachers now. Living proof that people can change. That redemption is possible. That even the privileged can choose authenticity. Places, everyone. Aurora calls. The class begins. Different music. Different energy. Different purpose. But the same spirit Stephen planted in a forgotten studio with a forgotten teacher and a scholarship student who refused to disappear. The same spirit that says, excellence needs no permission. Truth needs no approval. Champions can come from anywhere. Be anyone. Become everything. During the break, Aurora checks her phone. Message from Violet Drake. Former Academy star. Current Broadway performer. Surprising sender. Saw the article about your studio. Wanted to say, I'm sorry. For everything. You were right. About what matters. About what lasts. About what's real. Keep fighting. The world needs more truth tellers. Aurora stares at the message. Feels something she didn't expect. Forgiveness. Not for them. For herself. For carrying anger so long. She types back. Thank you. Come visit sometime. Bring your truth. We'll help you find it again, because that's what this is about. Not revenge. Not victory. Not proving them wrong. That it's about proving that another way is possible. That excellence doesn't require permission. That champions can rise from anywhere. That truth is stronger than privilege. That washed up doesn't mean finished. Sometimes it means ready to begin again. The afternoon ends. Students leave. Plans made. Dreams discussed. Futures imagined. Aurora locks up. Turns off the lights. Leaves Stephen's medal illuminated. A beacon. A reminder. A promise. Tomorrow, Mila will audition. Other students will train. New battles will begin. But tonight, Aurora Coleman walks home through streets that once seemed impossible to navigate. She passes the bus stop where she used to wait. Scholarship papers clutched in her hand. Dreams bigger than circumstances. She passes the community center where it all started. Where Miss Patterson first saw potential in a girl from nowhere. She passes the coffee shop where she once counted quarters for a single cup. Where she dreamed of belonging somewhere. Anywhere. Now she owns belonging, creates it, shares it, proves it's possible. What would you do? The question that started everything. The question that drives everything. The question that changes everything. What would you do if you knew excellence needs no permission? What would you do if you believe truth is stronger than politics? What would you do if you understood that champions can come from anywhere? What would you do if you realized that sometimes being washed up just means you're ready to rise again? Aurora Coleman knows the answer. You dance. You teach. You prove. You persist. You show them that nobody from nowhere can become somebody. You demonstrate that forgotten doesn't mean gone. You live the truth that excellence is earned, not given. That authenticity is chosen, not inherited. That revolution starts with one person refusing to stay quiet. Point one student refusing to disappear. Point one teacher refusing to give up. Point one moment when truth meets courage and creates something beautiful, something lasting. Something that changes not just one life, but every life it touches. They said Steven Seagal was washed up. They were wrong that he wasn't finished. He was just beginning, and so was she. And so are you. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe.